This is an excerpt from the full discussion that I had with Mr. Jijit Nadumuri Ravi on Indic studies, Bharatiya Itihasa, civilizations around the river Sindhu, river Saraswati, and the timelines of Indian epics. So, let's get started. Sir, my next question is another mischief by the Westerners that had happened in the explanation of the Vedas only, and it is regarding Sindhu also. They tried very hard to jumble up the mandalas and prove that Aryans came from somewhere Central Asia or from some Western region, and they slowly conquered the Indian subcontinent. So it is basically a repeat of the history happening, and you should not be surprised that Westerners have come again. So that is the mischief they wanted to establish in our minds, and they also divided between the Dravidian and the Aryan, all these so-called concepts. So you have researched the mandalas and created a chronology which was so beautiful. You could just briefly tell about that, the actual chronology, which actually debunks this idea of Aryan theory.
Yeah, the chronology, the mandalas, of course, the basic thing is the Rigveda composed of 10 mandalas. And many of the Westerners have no clue about which is the oldest mandala, which is the youngest mandala, etc. Few of them have some idea, okay, the 10th mandala is the oldest. There are no dispute because it contains a lot of elements which are very late. But between the mandalas from 1 to 9, they get a lot of confusion because they don't have any clarity of which is the oldest. Actually. So the kind of research that I follow, there is a kind of very clear clarity of who is the ancestor, who is the descendant. So there are multiple types of lineages in the Rigveda: royal lineages, the lineage of kings, and ascetic lineages, the lineage of ascetics. So the royal lineage, we have definitely you have the lineage of the Bharatas, like Dritsu Bharatas, like, so for example, I mentioned about Sudas. So his ancestor Divodas, he was mentioned as contemporary in the 6th mandala of the Rigveda. And Sudas himself is contemporary in the 3rd and 7th mandala. And there is a descendant of Sudas called Sahadeva, not to be confused with Pandava Sahadeva, but it's a different king Sahadeva. And he is contemporary to the oldest part of the 1st mandala. And then Sahadeva's descendant Somaka is contemporary to 4th mandala. So you have all these relationships inside the Rigveda, and it is not very difficult for us to chronologically sequence the Rigvedic mandalas. So that the first and foremost activity that anybody has to do before studying anything in Rigveda is to chronologically sequence the mandalas by looking at the ancestor-descendant relationship of the kings. And you get very clearly, because this Divodas is the ancient king and he is contemporary to 6th mandala, we have very clearly, we can understand 6th mandala is the oldest. And you can check it with other lineages, like the ascetic lineage of Vishwamitra, Vashishtha, and so many rishis, around 400 rishis are mentioned in the Rigveda, and 200 kings are mentioned in Rigveda. And all they, like in many cases, the ancestor, who is descendant, who is father, who is son, everything is mentioned in Rigveda. So by comparing all these lineages of the ascetics, the rishis, as well as the rajas, that is kings, you can very clearly distinguish what is the chronological sequence of the mandala. And to cut it short, the 6th is the oldest, then comes the 3rd and 7th mandala, where Sudas is contemporary, then comes the 4th mandala, then comes the 5th one, like that. The 4th and 2nd, the 5th, and then 8, 9, and 10. The last mandalas are numerically as well as chronologically in sequence: 8th mandala, 9th mandala, 10th mandala. So the kind of correct chronological sequence of Rigveda, and once you understand that, the migration becomes very clear, because in the 6th mandala you have rivers like Ganga mentioned, Saraswati is mentioned, and Vrisadvati, the tributary of Saraswati, and Apaya, another tributary of Saraswati. So all the rivers are in Western Uttar Pradesh and Haryana. And if you go to the next mandala, the chronologically subsequent mandalas, you have rivers of Punjab, that is Sutlej and Bias. And then if you got even further chronologically later mandalas, you see rivers like Chenab, Jalam, and Sindhu. And then if you reach 5th mandala, you see the western tributaries of Sindhu, like Upha River, Kabul River, which take us to Afghanistan. So very clearly the migration is westward.
So why don't we just rearrange them? Why still we call them mandala 6 is the first? We should call it instead mandala 1. Why don't we do that?
No, that's not a correct thing because see, throughout the Rig Veda for 4,000 years, these numbers are mentioned. You just need to understand which is the oldest mandala, right? Why even here, there is no need of changing the name number of the mandalas, right? These are all historical things. Like today, it's not like you don't you need to number it in 21st century. So that's not a very kind of intelligent kind of
This numbering was done by the rishis only. It was not done by the Westerners.
not by the British. It's by the Rishi.
Okay, understood. I did not know that. Want to see the full podcast? The link is given in the description and on the screen. Hope you enjoyed this video. If this video added value to you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with a friend who may find this helpful. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.